I don't like this at all.
After about 5 million hours of the Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake, the hype has sufficiently died down, and as such, it left a big action RPG-shaped hole in my life, and that hole needed filling. First thing that caught my eye was Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. Describing itself as a more in-depth Skyrim, I went onto the Steam page to check it out, and apparently, I bought the game like 3 years ago when it was in early access. So I played it a bunch, and here's what I thought about it. What I knew so far before playing it is that it's supposed to be based on all the Arthurian legends, like King Arthur, Merlin, and all sorts of junk like that. The sword and the rock, etc. Well, it turns out you are not King Arthur. You're just a regular dude, a regular ass peasant, or dudette, actually. But it seems like there's some sort of plague going on along with this thing called the Weird, or the Wired, which is like a nighttime fog, basically. People are afraid of it. And then you somehow resurrect King Arthur, only to find out you only resurrected a part of his soul, and you got to go pick up the rest of his DoorDash order because they messed it up or something. And then there's a guy that's helping you, and turns out he's a Knight of the Round Table, and he wants to kill King Arthur. And there are tons of other things from the King Arthur mythos and lore, which is, I guess, just English mythology. I'm not really well versed on this stuff. They talk about Merlin a lot, and you eventually meet up with the Crows, which are an assassin guild, who hang out with Morrigan. I know her from Smite. Actually, most of the mythos here, I know from the Smite universe. Let's fucking go, Smite. And of course, you gotta get Excalibur, you know, the rock, the sword in the rock, etc. Sword in the stone. Like many games in this genre, there are tons of decisions to make and paths to choose, but it's very easy to get lost messing around just killing the scary townsfolk who are for some reason very mad at you. So it's a classic medieval fantasy RPG with heavy British themes, and there's weird H.R. Geiger style medieval stuff going on mixed in with some Hellraiser scenic stuff. Totally taking a weird and brave step creatively with the environments and the visuals. Character creation was neat. It was kind of limited in what you can do, but I guess it doesn't really matter. It's a first-person game. And the game is mostly in first person. However, there's a third-person mode, but the devs were kind enough to tell you that it was not meant to be played like that, and it is an experimental feature. This feature was added as an accessibility option. Ew, why am I like this? So good luck. The game definitely reminds me of Skyrim and Oblivion, except it has the charm of an incredibly indie Unity game. None of the assets have physics applied to them, which was pretty much most of the charm for me for playing through the Elder Scrolls. A lot of the areas you explore in dungeons are just kind of plopped in place, and they lack character. Like a lot of the house interiors, they're just they feel empty and last-minute-y, or maybe even procedurally generated. The scenery off in the distance, though, in the open world, it is really cool, and some areas are sick. There's like one area with like a giant sword in the background, and the sky looks cool and stuff, but it really wasn't consistent. You can see where a lot of work went in and where a lot of work did not go in. So the combat is your classic FPS RPG style with parrying and dodging. It is fun. I was very much enjoying fighting the humanoids and like the weird little critters and the way that they ragdoll when you smack them on the side of the head with a shovel. It was very satisfying. Basically, you rock with a main hand and an offhand, or you could dual wield or use two-handed weapons, etc. I was doing a wizard build, so I was using all the spells, which they weren't usual spells. The spells are like weapons. You hold them in your hands. They kind of felt weird at first, and there was a bunch of issues with the graphics and the particle effects. I had to change a bunch of settings so that the game didn't stutter every time I cast Fireball, but it was fun nonetheless. There are a lot more cool weapons early on in the game, which made me want to respec from being a wizard to like just a straight up barbarian or a fighter. Like, I'm just gonna smack you with this big ass hammer. But I stuck with the wizard for my playthrough. It is an RPG, so you got your classic level up system, but with a sort of Souls-like twist. You need to summon a campfire to level up, and you get attribute points and skill points where you can up your attributes, and then separately you add skills to wherever you want to put the skills. The skill trees were pretty neat. Some of them seemed a little weird and useless, but maybe they had their uses somewhere. And then, of course, the bonfire serves like the Elden Ring bonfire, where it's like, oh, Ranni shows up there. But in this game, it's weirdly buff metal King Arthur, and he just shows up and you can talk to him if you want. Skills, though, skills level up as you do them, which, let's fucking go. This is my favorite thing in video games. I love when I jump for 5 minutes straight and then the game goes athletics 24, 25 with a little ding or something. It rules. It's literally the best thing any game can do. Like punching a tree for 20 minutes and my hands are so strong. I'm level 50 in unarmed. There are so many consumables in this game. Like literally like so many. For cooking, crafting, alchemy, sewing. I'm still finding new stuff and I don't know what to do with all of it. There does seem to be a simple and robust crafting system, which I enjoyed what I was able to figure out. You can mine. I haven't figured out how to chop wood yet. I actually wrote it in the script that you can mine or chop wood for materials, but I have a quest that I had to fix a bridge and I needed a bunch of wood, and I have a wood axe. There are trees. There's no way to chop the trees, so I have no idea how that works. But maybe I'm just stupid. Oh, there's also fishing. Sprinting doesn't cost mana when you're outside of combat. And for those horse girlies, you get a horse. And you can give it armor and stuff. It's pretty cool. And like I said before, there are so many weapons in this game. All of your classic medieval steel and wood and junk. Like you got swords, you got maces, axes, bows, spears, clubs, sticks, pebbles, a jar of nails which you throw it makes a bunch of people bleed, poison arrows. It's pretty great. It made being a wizard feel pretty bad. There were not a lot of spells in the beginning. I eventually found more, but they weren't really. It seems like the game wants you to be straight up a dude who hits stuff with a piece of metal. The spells were cool, and I did get a spell that turns people into cheese if I concentrated real hard. And then this is where I put in a clip of me shooting a guy until he turns into cheese with my cheese beam. The enemies are your classic angry villagers, knights. You got wolves and like pile of bees. And there seems to be a bunch of enemies from The Witcher 3. Which I don't know how they got in here or if they're like classic Arthurian lore, but I'm fighting a lot of drowners and like red caps and like other stuff from Witcher 3. The game kind of runs horribly off the rip. I had to adjust a bunch of settings multiple times to get the game to stop freaking out whenever I casted a spell. And I don't really have a bad setup. Like my PC's good. You can't pick up and wag dead bodies around like in Oblivion or Skyrim, which was like literally the only reason to play those games. The photo mode kind of seems like a complete afterthought. Like there's like 3 filters and I don't know. It was weird. They add this in last second. What is with that? Oh, let's do the closing remarks. All in all, I was really enjoying this game. It's incredibly jank at some points, but that will never stop me personally from having fun. I guess I'm just built different. The combat is satisfying enough to keep me exploring these boring-ass cave interiors and leveling my character up. I really couldn't care less about the story. I was never one of those King Arthur enjoyers growing up. He always seemed like a loser to me. All he did was pull a sword out of a rock, and he got to be the King of England, so, you know, whatever. Anyways, this game is for fans of games like Skyrim. If you want a new world to explore and smack peasants around and see weird Arthurian H.R. Geiger stuff in medieval England, I would recommend it. Sure. The Heisty official gamer rating. I am having fun playing the game out of 10. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe, or even maybe, if you feel like it, you could leave a comment on the video, which I would love. Hey, thanks again.
I don't like this at all.